Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about one of the most intriguing situations in European football, the future of Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. After a season filled with ups and downs, the team finds itself at a moment of major changes. With the departure of some key players, the arrival of new talents, and the expectations for the upcoming season, City is about to begin a new cycle. Will the renewal bring the expected results, or will the team go through a period of rebuilding? Stay with us to learn everything about this new chapter for City and the movements that could transform the team. On Wednesday night, Manchester City found itself in an unusual situation. Pep Guardiola's team suffered a tough defeat to Real Madrid for the second consecutive time in the Champions League playoffs. The disappointment on the Spanish manager's face was evident. Even though he wanted to continue in charge of the team, Guardiola made it clear that the team is going through a transitional phase, a moment where the continuation of a cycle may be coming to an end. In his words, Guardiola didn't try to hide his disappointment. It's a bit of the end of a cycle. Things aren't eternal. Not everything lasts forever. Winning 6 Premier League titles in 7 years and reaching the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals of the Champions League is, in a way, a great achievement. However, the manager also acknowledged that Manchester City hasn't shown the same consistency as before. This is noticeable when we look at the team's performance, which this season seems far from its best versions. The defeat itself was a reflection of what City has been facing during the 2024-25 season. For Guardiola, the team is no longer in the race for the Premier League, currently sitting in 4th place, but there are still ambitions to win the FA Cup. The manager knows that the moment calls for reflection, and there is no room for illusions anymore. We have time to think about this. It's easy to fall, and now it's time to face the reality. The home defeat was tough, and this one, even though it felt similar, gives us the chance to look ahead and accept what's happening. Guardiola continues to state that the team has many games ahead, but it's impossible not to notice that something has changed at Manchester City. Sincerely, the Spanish coach pointed out that Real Madrid was better in the game and, in his opinion, deserved the victory. The best team won today. We don't have the rhythm that Real Madrid has. They are a more intense team with an impressive game dynamic. They were better, faster, both defensively and offensively, and their individual quality also made a difference. The defeat to Real Madrid is not an isolated event. Manchester City has experienced an atypical season, far from what the club and its fans have grown accustomed to under Guardiola's leadership. The team suffered its 13th defeat of the season, the highest number since Guardiola took over in 2016. However, the Spanish manager seems to understand that the team is going through a kind of redefinition, and he admits it will take time for everyone at the club to accept this new scenario. The transition is inevitable, but that doesn't mean Guardiola's work is over. City, even in a moment of decline, knows that rebuilding will be a challenge, but a challenge that could bring new possibilities. After all, the club's recent history has been marked by highs, and the lows may serve as the foundation for the next great cycle. Guardiola continues with his work philosophy, but knows that adjustments are necessary. In addition to the challenges faced by the team on the field, Manchester City is also starting to plan for the future. The current season is proving to be a turning point for the club, which finds itself facing an urgent need for renewal. The early elimination from the Champions League, combined with the gap from the top of the Premier League, reinforces the idea that changes are imminent. Within this transitional scenario, the club is already preparing for the 2025-26 transfer window, with major moves expected. According to the Daily Mail newspaper, Manchester City has already started planning a revolution in the squad, with 9 players potentially leaving the club at the end of the season. The situation of some of these players is quite delicate. Kevin De Bruyne, one of the team's biggest stars, is nearing the end of his contract, and at 33, has been targeted by clubs from the Saudi Pro League and Major League Soccer. In the last match, the Belgian didn't even leave the bench in the defeat to Real Madrid, which further fueled rumors about his departure. De Bruyne is no longer the player who dazzled last season, and the idea of his departure seems increasingly likely. Another player in a similar situation is İlkay Gündoğan. The midfielder has the possibility of extending his contract with Manchester City, but his departure is not ruled out. The player, who had previously left the club to play for Barcelona, has been underperforming and has not shown the same consistency that made him a key player in the past. Age also weighs in, and Gündoğan's time at the club appears to be coming to an end. Goalkeeper Ederson is also being monitored by other clubs, with offers, particularly from Saudi Arabia. In the last summer transfer market, the Brazilian came close to leaving City, but a potential transfer did not materialize. Now, with his contract entering its final year, it is possible that Manchester City will seek a beneficial deal to secure some financial return from his departure. Another player being speculated to leave the club is Bernardo Silva. The Portuguese player's performance has dropped significantly this season, and his continuation at Manchester City is far from guaranteed. Jack Grealish, on the other hand, is practically out of Guardiola's plans. The Englishman, who had a below-par start to the season, has been used as a starter only 16 times, further highlighting his imminent departure from the Spanish manager's plans. In addition to these, center-back John Stones, who has been struggling with recurring injuries, may also be part of the squad renewal process. His contract, which runs until 2026, does not prevent City from considering selling the player, especially if the injuries continue to affect his performance. Midfielders Mateo Kovacic and Matheus Nunes are other names frequently appearing in transfer speculation. Nunes, who has received much criticism from some fans, and Kovacic, who is still adapting to Guardiola's playing style, may be sacrificed to help the club secure financial resources and, most importantly, the freedom to bring in new signings. Among the more senior players, right-back Kyle Walker is on loan to Milan, and his permanent transfer to the Italian club at the end of the season seems increasingly likely. City has already accepted that Walker is no longer a central figure in the team, and his departure could be beneficial for both parties. With so many changes on the horizon, Manchester City is starting to implement a squad overhaul that could change the course of the club. The upcoming summer transfer window promises to be hectic, and Guardiola's team is already preparing to reinforce its squad. The winter transfer window has already seen some impactful moves, but the summer market will be even more decisive for the club's future. Indeed, Manchester City has already taken action in the transfer market to begin forming a new generation of players. With 4 new young signings, the club has invested in Nico Gonzalez, 23, Abdulkadir Kusanov, 20, Omar Marmoush, 26, and Vitor Reis, 19. These players are the club's bets to replace the veterans and offer a new dynamism to the team. Furthermore, City has already signed some names for the future. The 19-year-old midfielder Claudio Echeverri from River Plate is one of the promising talents that Manchester City is eager to integrate into the team. Djouma Ba, an 18-year-old center-back, was recently acquired and is on loan at Lens in France, where he will have the chance to gain experience before returning to City. The club is also keeping an eye on other young talent. Midfielder Florian Wirtz, a standout at Bayer Leverkusen, is one of the most likely names to join Manchester City. At just 21, Wirtz is considered one of the greatest talents of the new generation of European football and would be a fantastic addition to the team's midfield. Another great expectation surrounds left-back Andrea Cambiaso, 25, from Juventus, who has impressed with his versatility and quality in attacking runs. The focus of Manchester City is on building a younger and more dynamic team that can handle future challenges more consistently. Despite an unstable season, the squad overhaul is seen as a necessary step for the club to remain competitive at both national and European levels. The arrival of players like Nico Gonzalez, Kusanov, Marmoush, and Reis brings a sense of youth that could revitalize the team. However, the transition process is not always straightforward, and the loss of more experienced players may be felt in the short term. Still, the idea is that over the next few seasons, these new signings will establish themselves as key players for Guardiola's team. The coach, known for his work with young talents, is expected to make the most of these new acquisitions to implement his playing style, which demands speed, technical skill, and versatility. The challenge, therefore, will be to balance the experience of older players with the energy and potential of the new recruits. Guardiola, although recognizing the need for change, knows that continuity at the helm of City does not depend solely on immediate results, but on a long-term vision. The manager has been a central figure in building the club's identity, and his ability to work with a constantly evolving squad has been one of the key factors behind the team's success in recent years. However, the cycle seems to be at a critical point, where he himself admits that the end of some stories may be closer than expected. This renewal, however, will not be easy. Manchester City still boasts some of the biggest names in world football, and the departure of these players may lead to a loss of technical impact on the team. De Bruyne, Gundogan, and Ederson, for example, are players who have been pillars of the squad in recent seasons. Their departure would represent not only a loss of individual quality, but also a shift in the dynamics of the dressing room and the relationship with the fans. These players are true icons of the Guardiola era, and their farewell may symbolize the end of a successful era for the club. It is in this scenario that Manchester City must reinvent itself. The pressure to win titles again is high, especially after the extraordinary achievements of the Guardiola era. To do so, the club will have to continue investing in promising young players and adapting to the new demands of modern football. It is not just about replacing the veterans, but about finding new ways to play and integrating the new players efficiently into Guardiola's system. Expectations for the upcoming season are high. The club knows that if the rebuilding process is successful, it could once again become one of the powerhouses of European football. With the Premier League always being an important goal, the internal competition will be tough, but Manchester City has the resources and structure to bounce back. The key will be the balance between renewal and experience, creating a competitive team that can fight for all available titles. Furthermore, the departure of key players also presents an opportunity for other talents within the club to shine. Players who had been more in the background or lacked space in the starting lineup could get a chance to prove their worth. With more playing time, these athletes could become central figures in Guardiola's team, which could be crucial for the future of the squad. The transition process will also directly impact how Manchester City positions itself in the transfer market. The search for young players with growth potential will be a priority. This may involve significant investments in talent from countries like Brazil, Portugal, Argentina, and even Asia, where the market is expanding rapidly. It is important to remember that, despite the current instability, Manchester City still possesses one of the most complete infrastructures in the world, which makes it easier for new players to adapt. Moreover, the club's scouting work, led by a team of highly qualified scouts, has been one of the club's great strengths in recent years. This makes it possible for City to find good reinforcements for the future, even in an increasingly competitive market. With its sights set on 2025-26, Manchester City is preparing for a new cycle, but knows it will take time to rebuild a squad that meets expectations. Guardiola, though melancholic about the current moment, continues to believe in the club's ability to reinvent itself. He himself, as a leader, will go through a process of adaptation and renewal, seeking new ideas and solutions for the team. The evolution of the club will, in many ways, reflect the manager's work, as he continues his mission to transform Manchester City into a global football powerhouse. However, Pep Guardiola's challenge is precisely to manage this renewal without losing the essence of what made Manchester City one of the most successful clubs of the last decade. The playing philosophy that Guardiola has instilled since his arrival at the Etihad, with possession football, constant movement, and high pressing, requires players with specific characteristics. Finding young talents who fit into this philosophy will be one of the club's main tasks in the upcoming transfer windows. The departure of some icons, such as De Bruyne and Gundogan, may be painful, but at the same time, it offers the opportunity to make space for new talents. The young Nico Gonzalez, for example, is seen as a great promise, and his arrival at Manchester City represents the kind of long-term investment the club is seeking. Gonzalez, with his versatility and vision, could be a key player in midfield in the coming years, taking on a similar responsibility to what De Bruyne did in his prime. Other players, such as Abdulkadir Kusanov and Vitor Reis, also represent the future of the club. Although still young, both have shown great potential in their respective leagues, and their acquisitions are clear indications that Manchester City is aiming for long-term growth. Kusanov, for example, is a player with a great ability to recover the ball and make quick transitions, which could be very useful in the style of play that Guardiola demands. On the other hand, the cases of players such as Jack Grealish and Bernardo Silva are more complex. Both have potential, but their contribution this season has fallen short of expectations, raising doubts about their immediate future at the club. Grealish, despite his technical ability, has never reached the level expected since his arrival at Manchester City, which has led to speculation about his future at the Etihad. Manager Guardiola, always demanding, has been a constructive critic of his performances, and the pressure on Grealish only increases with the arrival of new reinforcements who may compete for his place in the starting lineup. The same applies to Bernardo Silva, who has also experienced a dip in form. The Portuguese player, who was one of the team's pillars in previous seasons, has not been able to replicate the level of performance that made him one of the club's best players. His departure, if it happens, could make room for new players who bring the energy needed to return to the top. However, for the squad renewal to be successful, Manchester City will need strategic planning to avoid losing the balance between youth and experience. While younger players have the vigor and potential to bring something new to the team, the departure of experienced athletes requires strong leadership, both on and off the pitch. Guardiola, as the team leader, will play a crucial role in this process, helping to shape the character and philosophy of the team, even with the change in the squad's profile. The situation with goalkeeper Ederson is also an important factor for the future of the club. With the Brazilian in the final years of his contract and offers coming from Arab clubs, Manchester City needs to make a decision regarding his future. Ederson is one of the most complete goalkeepers in the world, but his departure could open the door for a new goalkeeper who fits the club's style of play. The club already has some names in mind, and their search for a replacement will be one of the central themes in future negotiations. Despite all these changes, Manchester City remains one of the powerhouses of world football, and their ability to reinvent themselves and remain competitive is one of the club's most defining characteristics. Guardiola's team has been able to adapt to modern times, and this will be crucial for their continued success. However, the current situation demands patience. The fans must understand that the path to renewal may take some time before the level of excellence the citizens have become accustomed to seeing on the pitch is reached. The summer transfer market will be a decisive moment for the club, and how Manchester City handles the departures of key players and the arrival of new talents will be fundamental to the success of their next season. Planning for 2025-26 is already underway, and expectations are high. The pressure to win the Premier League and claim the Champions League again is always present. But with a renewed squad full of potential, Manchester City has everything to stay among the elite of world football. Now, more than ever, it is time to invest in the future. The club's transition is a challenge, but also an opportunity for growth. Pep Guardiola will remain in charge, shaping his team and players in the relentless pursuit of titles. And Manchester City's fans, as always, will stand by the team, eagerly awaiting the next chapter in the history of a club that, even in times of change, never loses its ambition to be the best. So, what do you think about this restructuring at Manchester City? Do you think the team will return to the top? Leave your opinion in the comments. We'd love to know what you think. If you like the content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any videos about the hottest moves in world football. See you in the next video.